retirement, how to best stay retired, be retired, and enjoy retirement. However, the best person I think on earth that covers all of that is Dr. Wade Phau. And of course, we've shown you this book before, and we're going to keep talking about this book because it is amazing. And like I said, just before we popped up on here, I was going to, mark off a few things to talk about directly from the book, but I think, well, there's so much. I didn't know what to do, which one. So I think we just wait and let Dr. Phau, although he's not going to be able to do it all in a half hour. It would have to be hours long, but it is such a great book. I'm not going to tell you what it covers. We'll let Dr. Phau tell you what it covers. So, Doctor, if you would please go ahead and just introduce yourself, a little bit about your background again, and then we'll get into your magnificent book.
Well, sure. Thanks, Jay. It's a pleasure to be back. I think this might be the fourth time I've been on your show.
Yeah, so I think so.
Wonderful.
And yeah, it's always been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And so with my background at the American College of Financial Services, it's based out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, where I'm a professor of retirement income, and we run the Retirement Income Certified Professional Designation, which is an education program for financial advisors on retirement topics. I also have my personal website, retirementresearcher.com, and that's a big part of writing this retirement planning guidebook that you were referring to. It's part of that retirementresearcher.com. And then also in that context as well, this retirement income style awareness of help people think about what kind of approach to take for retirement income.
Yeah, because there's definitely more than one approach, but as we are younger, we don't think about that, and that's kind of unfortunate. And what you do is really shine a light on that, not only for us oldies, but for a lot younger people as they're thinking about what they're going to be going into, as hopefully they live long enough, which, nowadays we're living longer and longer. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, this is not your first book. So, no, you've got a whole bunch of great books that you might want to just go over real quickly, but I do want to concentrate on this one and how to get a hold of it.
Well, sure. And so actually, this is the book I was always trying to write, this retirement planning guidebook on all the different topics. But it ended up being my fourth book. So for the past 10 years, as I've been writing various chapters, some of them got so long that they were spun off as books of their own, effectively. So that's how I got started with Reverse Mortgages being the first book that I wrote. It was really because I was writing a chapter about reverse mortgages for this book, and it got so long, it became a separate book. I do summarize that book in the chapter on housing in the new retirement.
Right.
And it's the same story. I also have a book, How Much Can You Spend in Retirement? That's more about investment-based strategies for retirement income. And then Safety First Retirement Planning, which is more about strategies that involve a role for annuities or other insurance in a retirement plan as well.
And this book gets into more than just finance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it goes. So all my other books are summarized in a chapter of this book. And then what this book does that goes beyond more detail about budgeting for retirement, determining that your funded ratio, if you have enough assets to meet your retirement goals, thinking about your retirement style, the whole issue of deciding when to claim Social Security benefits, long-term care planning and how to think about the strategy for managing a potential long-term care event, Medicare and other health insurance decisions for retirement, the housing that we mentioned, the non-financial aspects of retirement, just how to have a good retirement lifestyle unrelated to financial considerations, tax planning, how to draw from different accounts in the most tax-effective manner to get the most out of your assets, estate planning and incapacity planning as well as a part of making sure that if you're the one running the finances in your household, that there are other people who are ready to take the reins and that you've got the detailed instructions for them as well as the legal powers of attorney and different things to make sure that they can take control when necessary. And then putting it all together at the end with how to think through all these different aspects and order them in a more well-organized manner, different steps to take at different points to make sure you've covered all your bases for the retirement income plan.
Wow, is that all? No, that's
That's quite a bit, as you say it, because
you
that's just
you do
under 10 weeks.
you do cover all the bases. And let me just make a recommendation that although Dr. Phau said that his other books are summarized, get all the books. Do like I did, get all of the books, because all of the books, the other books do go into some detail on specifics. So get yourself a library and dedicate it to Dr. Phau's books. And if you want some other things, it's okay too. You know, some science fiction, some this, that, whatever. But you know, this is really good. Also, I don't want the time to go by without you mentioning something about your organization and how people could sign up for it, how they get their free webinars or seminars or just emails once a week.
Absolutely. Indeed, so retirementresearcher.com. It's all one word, Retirement Researcher. And you can sign up to get our weekly email list. It's just every Saturday morning we send out different articles and things and mention different webinars we have. And actually, we're just wrapping up this week right now. We did a retirement income challenge. We had more than 500 people participate in this. It was 2 hours a day. We help people determine their retirement income style, actually use our funded ratio tool to compare how much assets they have, what their potential expenses will be, and to see if they're funded for their retirements. And it was a great success. We ended up helping more than 400 people this week to be better positioned for retirement and to know if they're adequately prepared for their retirement, the retirement they envision. So we'll surely be doing this again in another probably 2 months or so. If you'd just like to get on that email list, you'll be able to be notified the next time we run our retirement income challenge.
And how do they get on that? Might want to tell again.
Well, if you go to retirementresearcher.com, there should be a pop-up that says, would you like to subscribe to our email list? And then if you just enter your email at that point, that should all be pretty straightforward if you're at the website.
And you do want to do that. I mean, you do want to get on there. Now, there are other levels that you can join to become, you know, more involved, depending on how much you want to get involved. But this is the great place to start, right here with these books, this book, and get yourself signed up for the weekly newsletters. I was going to say it's well worth it. Well, it doesn't cost anything so far. And how do people get the books if they're not going out to the bookstores? I assume they are at bookstores. I assume they are on Amazon. Well, I got mine on Amazon, but, you know.
Yeah, they're available online from most of your favorite book retailers. It might be harder to find inside a bookstore, but if you go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anywhere else, if you search for my name, you'll see all the books showing up. It's Wade, and then my last name. I have a unique name, which makes it easier. So Phau is spelled P as in Paul, F as in Frank, A-U. So if you just search for me at Amazon or anywhere else like that, you'll get the 4 possible books. And the one I'd suggest looking at first would really be the new one, the Retirement Planning Guidebook, that covers all these different topics.
Boy, I'll say. And especially, this is the one that does cover the non-financial aspects. And finance and non-financial aspects are tied together, I think. And the ability to enjoy those things you enjoy, which you don't consider as financial, you're going to enjoy them more if you're not worried about spending money or not worried about where your next house or rent payment's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're tied together, but they're also separate in a way too, because with the financial aspects of retirement, you have to be prepared for a long retirement. Thinking about whether you plan for 90 or 95 or even 100, just to make sure you don't outlive your assets. But with the non-financial aspects, it's almost the opposite. You have to plan for a short retirement just to make sure you take full advantage of doing the things you want to do and pursuing your dreams.
Yeah.
And you don't have any regrets. And then it's about finding the balance of living your life, but also making sure you're in position to sustain your lifestyle as well.
Oh, a couple of good visuals are right now on the screen, as you can see. the book and all of that, which looks very, very good. But I believe this wise person that I once listened to, Wade Phau is his name. I think that what Dr. Wade Phau said, don't plan on the day you're going to die because it's not going to happen that way. And there you just mentioned the two different parts of the scale you need to, you need to balance.
Yeah, that's the big part of it, is finding that balance and making sure you put enough attention towards the long run future, while at the same time don't overdoing it, and making sure you're also enjoying today as well, when you still have your health and you're alive and everything. So you never know what the future can bring.
Yeah, I think I'm alive. I try, I look in the mirror and I see this person I don't recognize, but I think that's kind of a disease that's going around. It's called old age. And we are getting, like I said earlier, we're getting older all the time. And one of your chapters is about, well, of course, one is about risks, and another is about long-term care and health issues, which, used to be a horrible thing that you would end up in a nursing home or this or that. But now, I mean, if you reach 105, you'll probably end up in a nursing home. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you keep on going. And, you need to have the resources to do that, because Medicare, and correct me on anything I may be saying wrong, which is, of course, usual, but Medicare does not cover long-term care expenses, correct?
That's correct, and it's very important to emphasize that point. Medicare is a health insurance program that does not pay for long-term care. Medicaid can, but only after you're entirely deplete your other resources, but not Medicare. It's not part of the health insurance retirees have.
Right, and that's
long-term care.
And again, we don't make this half hour a infomercial for reverse mortgages, so we won't. In fact, I'm supposed to talk about it more on the show, but I don't. I talk about old movies and this and that and whatever, because that's what's fun. That's what my enjoyment out of living comes from, doing things like this show and that. But we do have to be prepared to pay for long-term care, and I don't think very many people have long-term care insurance, do they?
No, with traditional long-term care insurance, it's under 10% of the
Wow.
population.
Yeah.
There's some other, like life insurance sometimes will have an ability to spend down the death benefit for long-term care or something like that. But not a lot in the way of traditional long-term care insurance.
Yeah, well, of course, when you're young, it just looks like it's so expensive and you'll never need it. And as you get older, it starts to look cheaper and cheaper, but and you know that you just may need it, but as it becomes cheaper in your mind, it becomes harder to pay for because you're usually making less money.
Mm-hmm. And well, I mean, the issue with, usually when we think about insurance, you like to have insurance for something that has a low probability to happen and is also a high cost event, so that you're really getting the most out of your insurance dollars. It's going to be a lower premium if there's not much chance it can happen. The problem with long-term care is it is a high cost event, but it's not a low probability event. There, like maybe about half of the population will need to pay for some long-term care at some point in their retirement. So that means the insurance is not all that cheap, just because you have a pretty good likelihood that you'll be on claim. And that's part of the problem. That's why it is difficult to maintain like long-term care insurance at affordable rates, and therefore partly why it's not more popular in practice to have a policy.
Right. Because people, especially younger people, when they can get, as you get older, you can't get it either if there's any health issues or, well, I think wisely they look at age as a health issue just in itself. So when you get,
you'll have to go through the underwriting and potentially a medical exam, like with life insurance, and pre-existing conditions can mean you're not able to get the policy.
And of course, life itself is a pre-existing condition. And, especially if you're still alive, which hopefully we are. But it is, there's so much there. And again, that book is so important for not just most people, but all people to have, or, get it if you're a youngster on this, listening or watching on the show, get it for your parents, get it for yourself, get 2 copies, one for yourself and one for your parents. And it's also a great gift. So Christmas is coming. Hanukkah is coming. You want a gift suggestion that people can actually use and get the covers frayed because you're using it so much? Because that is what will happen. This is it. So can't recommend it highly enough. And do you have plans, Doctor, for another book? I know you can't sit still. You're going to be working on something, right?
Oh yeah, I'll keep busy. Not necessarily writing new books, but I am going to update existing books. So I've gotten started on updating the reverse mortgage book. It's been about 3 years now since the second edition
Yeah.
came out. So there's some issues I need to revisit.
And there's been some changes to it, but overall, I think
Mhm.
reverse mortgage is still, a good. But that's me talking. A good way to kind of manage some of those risks for the future. And oh, I've got Grandpa Speaks trying to call me right now. He shouldn't. Anyway, if he wants to talk to Dr. Phau, call in on the number. The number for the on call. But if you are listening, I'll call you right back when the show is over. But so we've got that, and I know that there's so much going on that you're doing and helping. You're still teaching also at the
Yeah.
American.
At the American College, the Retirement Income Certified Professional Program. Mhm.
So definitely you are keeping busy, that's for sure. And I've got some doctors who I've become good friends with, but they're friend they run and own a hospice, and they kind of taught me that hospice is not a 4-letter word. But other than that, I guess Medicare does cover hospice
Mhm.
and possibly palliative care, and my God, they've done a great job on me, paying for all of my costs and the things which have been huge last year. But it's that in between thing. And when I may have misspoke when I said nursing home, because care or long-term care doesn't always have to be at a nursing home. It could be in your home. In fact, it's better if it is in your home, where people, if it's manageable that way, to have people come, in some cases 24 hours, but to come to your home to take care of those functions of daily life, and to make sure that you're fed and this and that and everything. And that costs a lot of money. And what you get what you pay for, and you pay for people who are well trained to do that. But that is not covered by Medicare either. So
No, no. But yeah, at-home care with a professional, assisted living facilities, and then nursing homes may ultimately for people who need the most ongoing attention for their situation.
and that ongoing attention takes some ongoing money. I'm trying to look for another word besides money, but there just isn't. But you need to make sure that you've got some way of having it, and therefore don't spend it all on records like I do right now. And make sure you've got some set aside, or have investments or things like that. You get into investments also, right?
I do. That's part of, I didn't mention that separately, but there's the chapter that summarizes the how much can I spend in retirement, digs into all the investment aspects of building a portfolio and taking your distributions for retirement income.
Yeah, and you have a whole book on that too, right?
Right, right. And then chapter 4 summarizes that book.
Yeah,
Chapter 4 of the new book, the
yeah,
retirement guidebook.
because a lot of people do. I mean, they spend their whole life working, putting their money, well, spending money, and of course, I like what you have right at the beginning of the book about the mountain climber climbing Mount Everest. Actually, it looked more like the Matterhorn there, but still, climbing up is one thing, and coming down is even, and this is one thing nobody else, I think, has pointed out, at least to me, is that coming down the mountain is trickier and harder to do. And I bet that is true for real mountain climbers. And it certainly is true for real people in retirement, correct?
Yeah, it's a great analogy for retirement, because when you say, what's the goal of climbing the mountain? People might say to get to the top of the mountain. But of course, you also need to get back down the mountain
Yeah,
afterwards.
right.
And
You
that's where
can't
most of the
brag that you can't brag that you climbed Mount Everest unless you come down and are able to talk about it, right?
Right. And that's where most of the accidents happen. And it's just like retirement. People might think the goal is to reach some sort of number of how much money do you need to save before you can retire. But really, you have to then get through retirement and manage all the risks of retirement. So it's the same idea as getting down a mountain after climbing to the top.
Right. And remember, some of those risks you cannot plan for except to have something set aside or a system or something for the unknown, because coming down that mountain, there might be an avalanche, rocks may fall in front of you. There are things you just don't know that could happen. And those are things you have to be prepared for also, I take it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all of those things are covered in that book. And, I was going to pick up the book and show it again, but it's on the screen right now. And it's a good looking, I can show it again, even though it was just shown on the thing. Look at the size of that. And the wording is big enough for old people to actually see and read with a normal set of glasses if they need it. And I mean, I could go on and on about how the thing is, but you got to order the book. I mean, you have to. It's not a suggestion; it's a necessity. In my book, speaking of books, it's a necessity. It just covers so much. There are other, good and decent people speaking about and writing books about retirement. But if you want one book that covers everything in one form or another, this is the one. And I really want to congratulate you for having done this. I mean, it's a big job. This was climbing Mount Everest itself, I think, right? Did it feel that way?
I do. It's been really, since I started, about 10 years in the making. So I'm glad that it's finally done and out there and it's getting a good reception.
I'm sure it's getting a good reception, and I hope it sells a lot. And I hope it contributes to you and your old age. And I'd like to be around when you are older, and I'm going to try. And if we want to be around when Dr. Phau is 100 years old, we have to prepare ourselves now. And this is some of the best way. But I think, too, before we run out of time, which if things go too fast, let's just go over real quick how to get a hold of the book, how to get a hold of you for those places that you want people to get a hold of you at, and also the retirement researcher, website and things like that before we cut you loose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if you visit the Retirement Researcher website, it's retirementresearcher.com, all one word, no dash in between the words or anything. You'll get that pop-up to join the weekly email list. There's also a link to see all the books, so you can actually see all 4 books in one place, and then it has a link to Amazon. If you're interested to purchase one, you can otherwise go directly to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anywhere else, and they're available in all the different outlets.
Mm-hmm.
And with the new book as well, if you look on page 15, there's a link to take your retirement income style awareness, which is this new innovation we have to help people cut through the whole issue of what kind of retirement strategy would you like to pursue? Are you someone who's comfortable just with investments? Would you maybe like to think about an annuity? Would you like to think about a bucketing approach? the Retirement Income Style Awareness is a questionnaire designed to help you kind of figure out that question. And that's that retirement income challenge that we do every couple of months. We just finished one this week. But if you're part of the mailing list, you can get notified about the next one.
Right.
You'll get to go through that process.
And there's also a level at which you can join, correct?
Yes, there's the Retirement Researcher Academy, which is a membership website. But before even worrying too much about that, you might like to get a feel for how we do things with the book or with just the weekly emails, and then joining the Retirement Income Challenge. And then after that, you might consider whether you'd like to join the academy as well.
Because as people are finding out as they're growing older, it is a challenge, isn't it? And, you know, we're always looking for some kind of an immediate satisfaction, and we got to stop and think before we spend too much money, but we still want satisfaction as we go along. And there's 1 minute is all we got left. But I just want to take that minute to thank you so much. Number one, thank you for writing that book, because it's a tremendous thing for the rest of us to have. And I want to thank you again for being on the show. Look forward to you the next time. And hopefully there'll be, you know, plenty more times, whether there's new books or not. And for everybody else out there, please go to the website, and then you can consider things. But I really want to thank you so much, Doctor, for being a part of this show as often as you are. You are an enormous asset to us all. And have yourself a great weekend, you and the family, and enjoy yourself. Stay safe, and I know you're productive. I don't have to wish that on you. I know that that's what you are. So thank you again one more time. And we will, there's the music to pull me off stage, just like the Academy Awards. And here comes the hook. So thank you so much once again. And for the rest of everyone else, we'll be back right after the